Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the back row the head professional at Bellerive Country Club, Mike Tucker. PGA Championship Director, Barry Deach. Club Manager at Bellerive, Jeffrey Kraeffle. The President of the St. Louis Sports Commission, Frank Viverito. The President of Bellerive Country Club, Ed Glotzbach. PGA Championship Director, Mike DeCola. And Hall of Famer, Ozzie Smith. Mike DeCola, as the chairman of the PGA Championship, I want to ask you first, what goes through your mind when you look up at that video and watch those highlights and everything that happened at Bellerive? An incredible, one of the great world events our city has ever seen, if not the greatest.
Well, one of our major objectives from the very beginning was to really create a platform to show the world what this town has to offer, not just from a sports standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint. And you heard the great comments from the players, not just about how big the fan base was, but how respectful and knowledgeable the fan base was. Not only is this the greatest baseball town in the country, it's the greatest sports town in the country. And it was neat for us to be able to host an event that showed St. Louis in such a positive light.
Ozzie Smith, it was a heck of a week, wasn't it?
It was fun. I still, to this day, get comments from people about the excitement that it created. And as Mike just said, I think it was an important week from the standpoint that people they see this now as much more than just a baseball or hockey. This is a great sports town, and these people here, everybody that came out and supported, it was a team effort by everybody here. The great staff, the membership at Bellerive, Barry Deach, Jeffrey Kraeffle, who I don't know if people know, spent one weekend in his basement coming up with the concept and idea of what Reach would be. And can't thank him enough. And of course, the Sports Commission with Frank leading the way really showed what a great sports town this is.
Jeffrey, how did it start? How did everything start with PGA Reach?
Yeah, I'm not sure that this story's ever been told, which is amazing. We have all these sports writers up here. We kept it a secret from you this long, but 2010, for those of you that were in St. Louis at the time, the entire city was trying to secure the Democratic National Convention, and there was a small group of us at Bellerive that were working on something that we thought was going to be as big, if not bigger. As most of you know, that Democratic National Convention went to Charlotte, and interestingly enough, for the first 6 months we were working on this, we were working on the 99th PGA Championship, which ironically also went to Charlotte. And so it was only at that point that we realized we've got to think bigger. We've got to have a solution that's bigger than the problems that we're facing here. And it was through the efforts of Ozzie Smith and his leadership with the Gateway Foundation and the fact that they were already exemplars in their field and what they were doing that lent the credibility to go to the PGA and say, we want to be the host of the 100th PGA Championship. And it's surreal to be sitting up here at this point. St. Louis is obviously a great baseball town, but it's an amazing sports town.
Mike Tucker, Bellerive Country Club was quite a venue, and it did go back a long ways. That was a long road to get to that point.
It was, and and the good people of Bellerive and the community supported the 1992 PGA, and that was at the time one of, if not the most successful PGA championship that was held. So the PGA of America knew that when they were coming to St. Louis, we already had we kind of proven ourselves, and with the other championships we've had as well. So as a PGA member for over 30 years, it's the ultimate honor to be one of the many hosts to host the championship at your home club.
And Ed Glotzbach, it took a great commitment from the membership and from your club to make that happen.
It did. The members got behind it, right from the beginning, and And you know, we're proud of our membership, not for the volunteers, because they certainly were that, but because they were committed to St. Louis. And all of us, as Mike said from the beginning, had an idea that we could help St. Louis shine in the world, and it did. So we were not only delighted with the outcome, but delighted that St. Louis became a great example of a sports town, a great example of a town that takes care of problems that it has with the help of people like Ozzie Smith. And people walked away with a much different view of St. Louis than they started with, and we couldn't be prouder of that.
The crowds were unbelievable. And Barry Deach, before all of that, you heard about St. Louis. They put this championship in your hands as the director, and you had directed championships for 2 decades. What did you know about St. Louis then, and what did you learn through the process?
I didn't know enough about St. Louis, so I guess the best way to vote is to raise your hand if you were a volunteer. Raise your hand if you actually attended. Look at that. I will tell you that this was a city, county, and state, all the way to Jefferson City, coordinated effect. And what Bellerive did under the leadership of the gentleman in front, and Ozzie specifically, meeting him for, I'll never forget, a life member of meeting him for the first time and having that 3-hour dinner. And I called the PGA late that night. It was 10:30. And I said, we have got to figure out how to do something for this person who has done so much for the game of golf and PGA Reach and the Gateway section and Mike and others. But, you know, when you get a club like Bellerive around something like this, and we had a small impact on their club for a while. But I think one of the most amazing effects is our association and our leaders were the fans coming in under that heat for 10 straight days and having the same smiles as they were leaving was truly, truly memorable and extraordinary. So hats off to everybody in this room and the entire city.
Certainly an impact on Bellerive and the community and the entire region, Frank Viverito. What sort of impact did this have on St. Louis then and for the future?
Well, Mike says it best in that it shows St. Louis in a different and more positive light. And everybody knows that the reason that this is the best sports town is because we have the best sports fans. And to be able to communicate that to so many people and then to have the lasting legacy of the PGA Championship here being the reason that it came here. And I think all of this group had that same idea, is we all have golf courses and we all have dollars, but we have heart and we have legacy. And that's the proudest moment, is that's what we will remember from this event. It's legacy and these great folks' contribution to making St. Louis a better place that all can see.
And Ozzie, we have a lot to do, don't we? And you want to lead that.
We're going to continue to raise money. Our long-range goal is to build a 9-hole multi-recreational facility in the inner city there and give kids who otherwise would not have the opportunity to experience not just the game of golf, but the business of golf as well.
To see Tiger Woods walking down those fairways with the crowds, and you know what? That was Cardinals Nation.
That was it.
I mean, they were, and not just St. Louis, but throughout the region, and they were, you could see the Cardinal red. And Tiger himself had the red shirt on. And Sunday was a lot of fun, wasn't it? I mean, the whole time.
It was a great week. It was fun watching that, and you know, that sea, to see him when he walked over the bridge, that sea of people, that's something that will be in my memory for a long time. It was really, really nice to see.
Mike DeCola, just a final word on what this means to you and the region and moving forward.
Well, I think I have the pleasure of working with Frank on other initiatives, and I think the springboard the PGA has given our community in the world of sports has been amazing. I mean, we're getting interests not just in other golf events, but you know, we now have the Hockey All-Star game coming to St. Louis, which was underway for a while. And we've got a really nice lineup of amateur sporting events through the hard work of the Sports Commission. I think that, as Frank was saying, the fan base and the excitement help the professionals like the PGA and the NCAA put on a great show because they know they've got the audience. And that's where the power of all of the Cardinal Nation and the fans in St. Louis come to play.
You could see when Tiger won in Atlanta how the crowds were boisterous and how they rushed to the ropes and they got excited. That was the Bellerive effect. And we'll start to see that now more and more as championships go on, but also the lasting legacy of PGA Reach and PGA Hope. And the three pillars: youth, military, diversity and inclusion. St. Louis started it, and the PGA will continue it on and carry it on. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey Kraeffle, Barry Deach, Mike Tucker, Frank Viverito, Ed Glotzbach, Mike DeCola, and Hall of Famer Ozzie Smith.